Hi, this is a restorative sequence designed to help with a headache or really any kind of aching, but it will especially help with headaches. It is a shorter restorative flow, so I will be having you hold the postures for anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes at a maximum. And if you are ready to come out of the pose before I cue that it's time to come out, please listen to your body, come out of the pose, do any counter poses that you need to do, and make sure that you are taking care of yourself. If your head starts to hurt more or any part of your body gets a sharp pain or just doesn't feel comfortable, I invite you to go ahead and come out of the pose, stop doing it, and take care of yourself. So restorative yoga uses a lot of props, and we will certainly be using props in this particular class. So if you have available some yoga blocks, one or two of those would be great. If you don't, but you have some really thick hardback books, sometimes if you stack those up, you can end up with a height similar to that of a yoga block. Another thing you might want is a blanket that is easily foldable and easy to manipulate. Mexican blankets are really popular for that reason. You can put them in a lot of different shapes, and they're easy to origami for yoga. So I highly recommend one of those. If you don't have one of those, a regular blanket will also work. The last couple things we'll be using are these bolsters. So mine are very firm. They're stuffed with a material called kapok, which makes them stay very firm without being hard. They do have some give to them. So if you have some very firm pillows or maybe some blankets you can fold up and get vaguely into this shape, that would be great. If you don't have two bolsters to stack, there is one pose where you can use a chair instead. You do want to make sure that the chair has at least two legs on your mat so that it doesn't slide around. And I'll cue that again when we come to it. So if you don't have your supplies already, go grab what you need, pause the video, and come back and restart it, and we'll start the practice. If you already have your supplies, just begin in an easy seated pose and take a moment to center yourself. You can bring your hands to your knees. If you're having a headache, I recommend putting the palms of your hands down on your thighs or knees just to get some grounding energy into your body, help slow down the ache. Bring your awareness to your breath. And gently open your eyes now that you are more centered. We'll start with our first restorative pose of the practice. So this one, we're going to use a bolster for it. If you don't have a bolster, but you have a couple of blocks and a blanket, you can easily use your blocks instead. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. We're going to be coming into a restorative child's pose. So bring your toes together. See how mine are together? Take your knees apart about as wide as the mat. If you're going to use the blocks, you want to place them lengthwise, one in front of the other, and then take your blanket, unfold it to this size. So that's about 1.5 by, I don't know, 15 inches maybe. And then just fold it in half again, and you've got your bolster to lay on. I'll be using my actual bolster, so I'll put that to the side while I spill my water. Be sure to have water nearby. You are going to be breathing deeply, and it is easy to get dehydrated that way. So bring the bolster or your handmade bolster between your thighs so it's up right close to your body. And you're just going to let your torso fold forward. And you can let your forehead come down to the bolster, or you can turn your head to the side. If you're turning your head to the side, I will let you know when we're halfway through the hold so that you can pick up your head and turn it to the other side so you make sure to stretch both sides of your neck. We'll be here for about 2 minutes. While you're here, bring your awareness to everything that is making contact with the ground. And notice the parts of your body that are not in contact with the ground. We're about halfway through, so if you have your head turned one way, gently pick it up and turn it the other way. Stay focused on your breath. With your next inhale, gently press into your hands. Walk your hands in towards your knees. Take the bolster or the blocks and blanket off to the side. Bring your knees together. Take your bottom to the side. Take your legs out long. Bring your hands back behind you and just shake out your feet a little bit. Get some blood flowing back into your legs. The next pose is Janu Shirshasana. It's like doing tree on the ground. So this is a hip opener. If you feel any tightness in your hip, be sure to support your leg. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. First, make sure you're on your sitting bones. So draw your flesh back so that you are sitting on your ischial tuberosities rather than sitting on the flesh. Bend your right knee and then allow your right knee to fall open. So your foot doesn't have to be up as high as mine is. You're welcome to have it anywhere along the left leg. And if your knee doesn't quite come all the way down, you can use a block underneath your thigh to help support your knee so you can let go on the inner thigh. We're going to be on each side for 2 minutes. This is where you want to use your bolster again, or maybe grab a couple of blankets to stack on top. You're going to inhale and lengthen. Exhale, fold over the bolster. You may find that you would like a block on top of your bolster to support your forehead. You can let your hands rest on the bolster, or you can let them come off the bolster onto your mat, whichever is the most comfortable for you. We'll be here for 2 minutes. So just take a moment and notice what's going on in your inner thigh. Can you let go of the muscles in your right thigh just a little bit more? With each breath, you let go just a little more until there's nothing more to let go of. And breathe deeply. If you would like a gentle massage on your forehead, sometimes that feels good when you have a headache. You can gently rock your head side to side, just massaging out some of the forehead muscles that can get tight when you have a headache. If you do that though and it's too much pressure or it doesn't feel good, then bring yourself to stillness and maybe consider using a rolled up beach towel in place of the block to have something softer for your forehead to go on. Breathe deeply. We're going to gently switch to the other side. So gently lift your head up. Take the block off to the side. Press into your hands. Walk them in towards your body. Take your bolster off to the side. Bring your right knee up and stretch your right leg out. Bend your left knee and allow it to open out. Remember, you can always place a block underneath your thigh, and your legs may be different amounts of open side to side just because a lot of us tend to, when we stand, kind of collapse onto one hip. So that side might be a little tighter, or it might have been loosened up and overstretched. So just check in on how you're feeling. Place a block or a blanket underneath if you need to. Place the bolster on your right leg this time. Have the block or beach towel ready. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Let your head rest on the block or on the beach towel. Bring your hands to the bolster or let them melt onto the mat. Take a moment now and bring your awareness to your inner left thigh. What is going on in those muscles? Can you let go of just a little more? With each breath, as you inhale space. As you exhale, let go just a tiny bit more. You can always gently rock your head side to side. If that felt good before, probably still feels good. Or if you're done with it, just leave your forehead still. Gently press into your hands if they're down on the ground. Move them down to the ground if they're up on the bolster. Take your forehead up off the block. Move the block off to the side. Walk your hands in towards your body. Let the bolster come off of your body. Take your other leg out. Shake them both out just for a little bit. The next two poses we're going to do are a little more active, but then we'll be coming back down to the ground. So don't worry, we'll get back there. You may have noticed there's no music in this video. That was intentional. Sometimes music can give you a headache or make your headache seem worse. So I didn't want to choose a music that would do that for you or to you. And if there is a music that you know relaxes you and helps you to get rid of a headache, that is music you should put on during this practice. Remember, this practice is for you. So we're going to be coming into downward facing dog using bolsters or blocks. I'm going to be using my bolsters to support my head. So bring your bolsters one on top of the other toward the top of your mat. I'm stacking two just for demonstration. I'm really only going to need one. You can also use a couple of blocks or a block and a blanket or a folded up blanket. If you're going to fold up your blanket, you can try taking it from this space and rolling it on the side to get a nice big roll that your forehead can rest on. That generally makes a good shape, nice and big. But choose something that's going to work for you, something that you have in your house available. To come into downward facing dog, first come to all fours. Your hands are underneath your shoulders. Your fingers are opened out wide with your thumbs relaxed. You want your knees underneath your hip bones so they're not too far apart. You can probably take a fist and put it between your knees, and that's about the right distance between your knees. From here, you're going to turn your toes up underneath you, press into your hands, and take your bottom up and then back to come into downward facing dog. So I thought that I would not need my second bolster. I was wrong. So I'm going to make an adjustment. You might need to make some adjustments too. Restorative yoga is a lot about moving stuff around. So once you get the support that you need for your head, we're going to be here for just 1 minute. So press into your hands, bend your knees, take your heart toward your upper thighs, and then lengthen out through your heels. They may or may not touch the ground. You can always keep a bend in your knees and your heels do not have to touch. And just let your head rest on the bolsters. Breathe deeply. And if you can, while you're here, notice where you feel the work and where you feel the openings. So for me, I can feel work pressing through my hands. I feel work in my abs, drawing them in and up to hold me upright. And I feel the release along the backs of my legs, in the muscles of my glutes, and in some lengthening of my arms. Very restful to be able to let go of my head and let it just rest on these bolsters. That does feel really nice. About 3 more breaths here. Bend your knees, Slowly walk your feet up towards your hands and keep your knees bent. Let your torso rest on your thighs. We're going to come to standing forward fold. So this is with support. You can use the seat of a chair. Just place the two front legs on your mat. If you're going to use the bolsters, you want to stack them up. You're going to bring your hands to opposite elbows and just let your hands and arms rest on either your bolsters, your blankets, or the chair. We'll be here for 1 minute. Always bend your knees, especially if your hamstrings are tight. You can let your belly rest on your thighs. Shake your head yes, shake it no. The reason this posture is good for a headache is because it's an inversion. So you're taking your head below your heart. You're going to allow some new blood to flow into your head, and that may help to release whatever is really cramping up your brain, cramping your style. Breathe deeply. See if you can melt a little bit more into the seat of the chair, into your bolsters. Let your upper body be very heavy. About 3 more breaths here. Very gently take your hands off of your elbows. Maybe scoot the chair or the bolsters away. Bring your hands down to the mat. Bend your knees. Come down to a kneeling position. Child's pose for just a moment. 2 or 3 deep breaths here in child's pose. Press into your hands. Come all the way up. Wiggle anything that needs to be wiggled. Take your bottom to one side. Take your legs out and shake them out. So this next pose is Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined bound angle. There are a couple of ways you can do the props for this one. You're going to have your feet together and let your knees open out. That can be quite a lot of release on your inner thighs. Sometimes it can move along the outer thighs and into your glutes. If that is happening, you can always place a couple of blocks or beach towels, one under each thigh, close to the knee. That can feel kind of jabby in my opinion. So I'm going to use a blanket trick that I learned when I was becoming a yoga teacher. I'm going to open my blanket up to this size. So it's folded in half and then folded in half again. It's about 2.5 or 3 feet wide and 1.5 or 2 feet long. I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to take the folded edges, fold them in and in and in to make this sort of flat, puffy shape. I'm going to find the middle of it, pick up my feet. I'm going to place my feet in the middle of it, pick my knees up, and then curl the blanket around so it's in a rainbow shape, and then rest my shins on it. That is relieving some of the pressure in my inner thighs and it's also a way to keep my feet from sliding forward or feeling like they're sliding forward once we get down onto our backs. So it is a reclined angle with a nice shoulder opener. So you can take the bolster and bring it back behind you so that it will line up with your spine when you lay back. You can also do a rolled up yoga mat along your spine, or you can take your blanket and roll it up into a cylinder and then lay back on that. We're going to do this one for about 3 minutes, so make sure you're comfortable. If you're getting cold, which can happen during a restorative practice, go ahead, put on a layer, get a blanket so you can put it over you. And here we go. So you've got your feet in your angle. You don't have to have your feet really close to your body. They can be further away, so it's more of a diamond shape. This is just where mine are comfortable. You're going to slowly come all the way back onto whatever you've chosen, the bolster, the rolled up mat, the rolled up blanket, and just let your arms open out to the side. If you feel like your back needs more release, and that is what you would like, you can move your arms so that they are sort of around your head in a halo position. This can feel like a lot of pressure across your chest and in the shoulder joint. So don't do it if you feel that pressure, which I do. So I will bring my arms back down beside my body. And just rest here. We'll be here for 3 minutes. Allow yourself to melt just a little bit more. See if you can let go of your inner thighs. Just maybe 10 or 20% more. Let your arms be so heavy it's like they fell off onto the floor. very gently come back to your breath, come back to your body. Bring your hands alongside you. Gently press into your hands to come up. Take the bolster off to the side. Remove the blanket. Bend your knees, keep the soles of your feet down on the mat, and gently rock your knees side to side. That's just to work out any tension that may have developed in the inner thighs or along the outer hips while you were in reclined bound angle. It's a nice counter pose. So the next one we're going to do is supported bridge pose. There are a couple of ways you can support your bridge pose. I don't recommend a blanket. It won't really get you into the position that you want where you can get your shoulder opening. So I would put the blanket off to the side unless you're just using it to keep yourself warm. The props I recommend using for supported bridge are either a block or a bolster. So I'm going to have both of them nearby so I can show you how you would use both for bridge pose. To come into a supported bridge pose, you're just going to lengthen your legs out or keep your knees bent and gently roll yourself down onto the mat. Bend your knees, place the soles of your feet down on the mat. Squeeze your shoulder blades together underneath you, helping to open across the front of your chest. You're going to use the block. Remember, it has 3 heights. It has a low setting, a medium setting, and a high setting. I'll be using it on the low setting. I've been in the car a lot today. My lower back is feeling a little, hinky. So I want to make sure that I'm not overstretching my back. Keep your knees bent. Press into the soles of your feet. Take your glutes and torso up. And then you're going to find the upside down triangle that's at the bottom of your spine called your sacrum. It's right above your butt crack. You want to place the block there. You'll know it's in the right place because it will feel comfortable. It won't feel jabby. If anything feels jabby, you've got the block in the wrong place. So that's if you're using the block. And remember, if you want to take it higher, you press into your feet, you turn the block to the next level, adjust it to make sure it's underneath your sacrum, and then release onto the block. I'm going to use the bolster today because I need a little more soft support. So to use the bolster, I'm going to do the same thing, press into my feet, take my bottom and torso up. I'm going to bring the bolster so it's underneath my lower back at the start of my glutes. And that's where I'm going to rest my torso, or my bottom rather. Squeeze your shoulder blades together underneath you and just notice what happens for you here. You might feel your knees want to splay out. Do your best to keep them in line with your ankles. If you need to widen your feet a little bit to do that, then do that. Just make sure that you feel comfortable and can stay here for a good 2 minutes. Remember, if you need some more of the grounding energy, you can always place your hands on your own body, palms down on your belly and abdomen, or you can bring your arms alongside your body with your palms facing down on the ground. I'll be placing them on my body. That seems more grounding to me right now. Just focus on your breath here. You'll notice that your breath is a little different, being in this slightly upside down position. with your shoulder blades down on the mat. You might notice that your lungs, as you inhale, press down into the mat, and as you exhale, they float away from the mat. But if trying to concentrate on anything makes your head hurt, then don't do that. I was just giving you a point of focus in case that would help. Very gently begin to deepen your breath. Press into your feet. Slide the bolster or the block out from underneath you. Lower your vertebra one at a time with your bottom coming very last. Bend your knees in toward your chest, hug them close, and draw circles on the ceiling with your knees just to massage your sacrum a little bit. And take your knees in the other direction. Squeeze your knees in towards your chest. You can bring your hands back behind you, back behind your knees. You can curl your chin into your chest and take a few rocks and rolls if this is okay for you. Just massaging out your spine, massaging out anything that's holding on and bothering you. And come up to an easy seated pose. So this is the final pose that I will be cueing. It's the pose we've all been waiting for and expecting, corpse pose. So you want to make it as comfortable as you can. You may want to have a blanket folded to go underneath and support your neck. You may want a bolster or a couple of blocks to go underneath your knees. Open your legs out about as wide as your mat. Slowly roll yourself down. Scoot the bolster. Make sure it feels comfortable wherever it is. Bring your head up onto your blanket or just let it rest on the mat. Squeeze your shoulder blades together underneath you. You can leave your hands right beside your body here, palms facing up or down, or you can bring your hands to your body for a little more grounding energy. We're going to be here for just about 5 minutes. And remember, just because the video ends doesn't mean your Shavasana has to end. If you want to continue absorbing your practice even after the video ends, just stay where you are and continue absorbing. If you only have time for a 5-minute Shavasana, you want to very gently bring yourself out of it. Start by deepening your breath, and then wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circle out your wrists and your ankles. Gently rock your head side to side. And then take a long stretch on your mat. Reach out through your fingers, reach out through your toes, and then bring your knees in towards your chest and hug them close. And come to lying on one side in the fetal position. Take a moment here just to absorb a little bit more. And when you feel ready, you can press up to an easy seated pose. You can bring your hands to your heart if you're comfortable doing that, or just leave them in your lap. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. I hope that this helped in some way relieve your stress or anxiety, or just help with the pain in general of having a headache. Those are never fun. Be sure to take care of yourself and notice whether or not the headache occurs around some particular time, particular person, or if it's lasting too long, please seek professional medical help. Headaches are not a joke. They can be an indication of very serious problems. With that in mind, thank you for sharing your practice with me. I am honored that you chose me to share your practice, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.